Switzerland fully legalizes medical cannabis and aloes export. Recreational. When? Yeah, Canada over here making Europe look like they are still in the Middle Ages. I bought quarters of weed in stores in Switzerland back in '99. It was labeled an air freshener. Not legal but pretty open. Juan Bubets. It's good to see the winds shifting in Europe. You can almost smell it. It isn't, though. It is simply allowing corporations to profit. The Gook is the largest exporter, and the residents still end up in prison for it. It makes me sad as someone from the Netherlands to see that me country was always a little stereotypically the place to smoke weed, but is now so ridiculously far behind because of alcohol, tobacco and pharma lobbying and conservative fear-mongering. Yes, owning a bit of pot is legal here, and selling it in a coffee shop is legal too. But distribution, growing large scale, etcos all illegal, and has made it so a criminal underworld network. Has taken root so strongly, it has now been taken over by very violent cartels to sell drugs that do actual harm, like cocaine, heroin, crack, meth. All because of political unwillingness and laziness, and now the problem is much larger. Talk about having the lead and wasting it, and then making other things worse. And conservatives in the rest of the EU too for contributing to this shitty lawmaking. Sorry for my rant. The UK has left. Hungary and Poland are devolving into authoritarian states, and the far right is taking the stage across the board. With Germany possibly legalizing it this year, they see the market and want in on that. There's gonna be a lot of demand and someone will have to supply it. High in the mountains. Less than warmth. Title should be Switzerland legalizes shitty cannabis. Basically hemp. They'll get around it by mainly creating edibles. It's happening all over the world and becoming more normalized. How is that possible? A fake Schengen agreement has a clause that makes the export of cannabis illegal. It only allows products containing high levels of ECT with less than 1, which is the limit set for the hemp industry, while cannabis for recreational purposes is still considered illegal. I can only guess, but maybe it's still technically illegal to export it due to Schengen law, but not to Swiss law then. With the point being that once the Schengen agreement is changed, there is no Swiss law that forbids it. The medical and scientific trade of drugs, including cannabis, is excluded from the Schengen agreement. I thought Switzerland is EFTA state, which is outside the EU, that is associated with the Schengen activities of the EU and where the Schengen rules apply. Kinda like a de facto Schengen. Cannot fathom how expensive Swiss weed is going to be. 0 for an eighth. 0 for an eighth. That's like Chicago priced. Swiss Alps appellation when? It's currently 50 francs for 4. 7. 5 depending on how much your dealer likes you. Oh, so like Illinois weed. Weed Toblerone. Be a bad time to get the munchies and eat that whole bar. Toblerone will sadly not be produced in Switzerland anymore and lost its Swissness label. But there is other chocolate. Come. On Sweden next. One's got a dream. It'd be ready to put down a decent bet that we'll be one of the last 5 countries in all of Europe to legalize or decriminalize or medical. They are actively chasing drug users here. Practically nobody dares to even mention the subject politically. Quite ironic when we're supposed to be so progressive. However, if other Schengen countries legalize it, we can already import magic truffles legally from Holland. I've not tried myself since I'm not really interested, but I've heard several people who has done it even though customs have tried to stop it. The company forgot the name that does Facebook ads for it say that it's generally no problem shipping to Sweden. Swiss here, Hydroquinone has been legal here for years. I think now doctors can prescribe it for treatments and pharma can now produce medicine based on it. But weed, oil, etc. have been legal and widely available for a while. Conservatives' biggest fear about marijuana is that more people will break away from hate, fear, and the capitalist slave machine. We knew we could make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities, Ehrlichman said. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Nixon Domestic Policy Chief John Ehrlichman. Plenty of us happily smoking inside said slave machine. Thank you very much. I would think that the reasons you listed are more applicable to conservative hatefuls. Conservatives should love weed. It makes people soft and pliable. Why protest when you can stay home and smoke? God, you're terminally online. Touch some grass. Conservatives will put cannabis inside the slave machine. If it's anything like Swiss chocolate, Swiss cheese, or Swiss clocks, then the entire industry is about to change forever. This is really new news. Cannabis has been legal in the country for years. Everyone and their dog smokes the low. Test stuff even in public without worry, and head shops have been selling it for a long time now. This just legitimizes it from a medicinal standpoint and facilitates the export of the low. The real test is a pending trial in Basel for high cannabis, which hopefully leads to real medicinal and recreational legalization. Being Switzerland, though, things are slow and politics skew a lot more conservatively than elsewhere in Western Europe, so nobody expects any legalization movement for the real stuff for years. Congratulations. Meanwhile, here in Michigan, I can grow 15 plants and buy edibles from a drive-through lull. The hills are alive with the smell of ganja. How is Europe so far behind the password cannabis? It's insane to see this headline. My state legalized medical cannabis in 1998 and recreational in 2012. Other than disability law, I can't think of anything else seeing European countries be overwhelmingly less progressive on, and it's impossible to understand. Suddenly money